Amita did her masters in modern history from Jadavpur University, where she was awarded 3 gold medals for her distinguished academic performance. She found her passion in school teaching, which she has made her vocation for over 30 years. Miss Amita has also been involved in mentoring students in all aspects of school life, scholastic and co-scholastic. As Vice Principal of Modern High School for Girls, she played a pivotal role in school administration. She was appointed Dean Research and Development and then Vice Principal at the Heritage School, Kolkata. At present, she is Director, Indus Valley World School, Kolkata.
She is the co-author of 3 series of history and civics textbooks for classes 3 to 8 published by Oxford University Press. Miss Amita is a member of the advisory board of Peaceworks, an initiative of the Siegel Foundation for the Arts, a group of citizens devoted to promoting peace and teaching children to learn to live with difference. She is also a member of the governing body of Manovikas Kendra, a pioneering institution that works for differently abled children, and Iktara, an NGO that works with women and children from impoverished families. We heartily welcome you, ma'am, to Juana Studio Cityscapes. Today, I, Veeraj Shah, from Navratna School Sama, Vadodara, and my partner Janissa Gupta from DCM Group of Schools, Firozpur, Kent, would like to have a talk on your experiences as a school leader and discuss your views on the effect on education due to this pandemic. So tell us, ma'am, what according to you are some of the main challenges that schools face due to this pandemic?
First of all, thank you very much for that very kind introduction from both of you. And I'm really happy to meet you, even though it is virtual. Uh, with regard to your question, Viraj, I think one of the biggest impacts is what is happening right now. We are connecting virtually. Whatever is happening has shifted from the real world classrooms into a virtual space. We had never thought that teaching children would not happen in a classroom environment. So one of the biggest transformations that has come about is this complete shift in the way our lessons are happening, where the teacher sees the children in a computer screen or on a phone screen and not in real life. We cannot see the children running down the corridors. We cannot see the children shouting and playing in the playgrounds. These things, which are such an important part of school life, which in all my years, I could have never even imagined that school would be without those things. That we would be teaching from home and not be able to enter our school buildings. These are all some of the most drastic changes which we had never ever thought would happen.
That was extremely informative, ma'am. The pandemic sure has brought a lot of challenges upon all of us which we couldn't have imagined. So, can you please tell us what are some of the activities that you recommend for students like us to do during this lockdown? And do you have a particular set routine that you follow which you would like to share with us?
Uh, okay, Viraj, with regard to the first part of your question, I feel that students and teachers and school leaders, by now, in the beginning of the lockdown, I think we were all a little lost. We really didn't know where we were headed. But now, between April and now that we're in July, things have progressed to such an extent that I feel that almost everything that we used to do in schools, we have now shifted it to the online platform. So in terms of activities, of course, you have all your lessons, you have your homework assignments, you have we even have started online assessments. So you have to prepare for your examinations. All your academic work is going on. That is one part of it. But we all know that school and teaching and learning is not only about academic work. So we have also been able to shift co-curricular activities into this virtual space. We are celebrating all the important dates in the school calendar through this virtual medium. And when I say we, I am sure your schools are doing it as well. So everyone is getting opportunities to pursue their own interests, whether it is in the form of music or dance or painting or even for that matter, yoga, sports, everything is happening. So my suggestion to you would be, please do not allow the lockdown to come in the way of your pursuing your interests. You can reach out to your teachers, you can reach out to experts located anywhere. In fact, it is fabulous. See, the three of us are in three different cities, but we are enjoying such a lovely conversation. Similarly, if you want to pursue any interest, you can reach out to people no matter which part of the globe they are in. So it is a fantastic opportunity for you to connect with people who will be able to guide you, who will be able to train you, and all your activities should be carrying on just to the extent possible in this virtual space. This is my suggestion.
Okay.
Thank you so
And
much, Mom. We definitely look forward to implementing them. Also, ma'am, I would like to know, what do you think is the most important thing in a teacher-student relationship?
In a teacher-student relationship, I think it's very, very hard for me to define it because I think it encompasses every aspect of life. If you think that a teacher's job is only to come into the classroom and deliver lessons, I think that would be doing a great injustice because that is a very tiny part of what the teacher's role is. You ask yourselves, I am sure you yourselves will know that a teacher is much more than just a giver of information related to the subject that he or she is teaching. I think teachers, sometimes they are foster parents, sometimes they are counselors, sometimes, and I don't want to use the cliche where we say that a teacher is a friend, a philosopher, and a guide. But I think it is actually not just a cliche. I think there is a great deal of truth in this statement. When I think back of the teachers whom I had as a student, I think many of them played all these roles and more. So I think at the end of the day, it is between the teacher and the student, that bond, that chemistry that exists. I think that cannot be defined in just words. You have to experience it in your heart.
That was a great outlook to hear, ma'am. I personally think that the bond between a teacher and a student definitely affects their work. So, ma'am, how do you ensure excellence in your teacher's teaching methods?
I think this is something that we judge at every step. First of all, when a teacher is appointed, the school asks the teacher to give a demonstration lesson and we observe the teacher in a classroom setting. So once the teacher is appointed, we know that the teacher is very good to begin with. And then I believe that teachers are also lifelong learners. So we have lots of training programs to help our teachers to constantly build on their own skill sets, to learn new methods. For example, just now, in this lockdown environment, there are so many things that our teachers had to learn in order to make sure that their lessons were as excellent as always. So we have special training programs where our teachers can learn up-to-date methods. We share with them links and opportunities of webinars which are taking place all over the world so that they can learn the best practices from other teachers and others who are perhaps even more skilled and even more proficient. So it's a constant process of upgrading. And at the end of the day, I believe that teachers learn from each other by discussing with each other. So we have special staff meetings when teachers discuss their problems, teachers share some unique methods which they have tried, which have been very successful. So through all these, we do our best, and I believe that teachers are so passionate about their work that even in whatever we are doing, we are constantly thinking about our lessons. I sometimes feel that even when we sleep, we are thinking about our classes. And we are constantly doing our best to make sure that our children enjoy our lessons.
So, ma'am, moving on, we want to talk about the teaching methods, and our learners would like to know what are the barriers to academics adopting and using technology, for example, online learning and teaching.
See, Viraj, what I feel is that uh, online teaching learning was something very new.
Okay.
I think most of us had practically little or no experience of this kind of teaching learning before the COVID pandemic. So one of the barriers was that teachers did not have any previous training. It was literally in 1 week's time, we had to completely alter our entire methodology. I don't know if either of you have ever learned swimming. You know, if you have ever learned swimming, you will know that either you can learn swimming by taking swimming lessons, or sometimes you are taught swimming where the person just throws you into the deep end of the swimming pool and says, now you find your way to the edge of the pool. So, as far as our teachers are concerned, it was like the second form of learning. They were thrown into the deep end and then said, now you have to learn how to teach online. So that was one of the initial obstacles, but it was amazing that the teachers were able to rise to this challenge. That is one. And the second, and a very, very important challenge, which in fact remains even to this date, and that is the limitations of technology. Sometimes, there are serious connectivity issues. Some child is not able to log on to the class. Sometimes the teacher himself or herself faces internet problems. So we are so dependent on these things. So that becomes an obstacle. And of course, we know that the sad part of it is there are thousands and thousands of learners in different parts of our country who cannot afford such devices. They cannot afford proper internet connections, broadband connections. So for them, we feel really sad that this pandemic has come in the way of their continuing with their proper education.
I couldn't agree with you more, ma'am. Moreover, our listeners would love to know if you have been accommodating co-curricular activities in this time of online learning, and what is your perspective on online contests in comparison to physical contests?
Uh, Again, with regard to the first part of your question, that is to do with the co-curricular activities, I am very happy to say that we have not missed out even one occasion to celebrate an important date in the school calendar, or to go looking for opportunities where our students have been engaged in all the kind of co-curricular activities that we can offer, whether it is, as I said earlier, whether it's music, dance, public speaking. We've had lessons on how to play the guitar, how to play the synthesizer. We've had chess lessons. Now we are having lessons on yoga. We are having all kinds. Next week we are starting sports training. So very frankly, we are not missing out on any of these co-curricular activities, including our sports. But with regard to your second point, the difference between the physical part of it, of course, there is no comparison. I feel, yes, we are doing our best. It is within the confines of our house. The most important thing is we have to be safe. So we have to be safe, meaning our children have to be safe, our teachers have to be safe. So keeping them in the safety of their homes, this is a wonderful thing that our teachers are doing and our children are participating in. However, if you gave me the choice and if you told me that you can go to school and it is safe and all the children and the teachers can be together in one hall and they can have lessons, I can tell you without any hesitation, I would pick the physical environment any day. And I know, I think my students would also say the same thing, because every time they tell their teachers, ma'am, we are missing school.
Very rightly said, ma'am. We all want to go to school as soon as possible. So my next question is on a bit of a personal level. I wanted to ask you about on the topic of keeping friends. Do you believe in keeping several friends or keeping quality of friends? And what is the basis of your choice?
I think, Viraj, I would say both. I have lots of friends, but if you're talking about really, really close friends, then of course those are very few. So I feel that there are some things that I like to do with many friends, and then when it is a matter of something very deeply personal or very someone I really need to confide in or discuss something of a deeply personal nature, then I wouldn't discuss it in my wider group of friends. I would do that with just one or two very, very select close friends.
Those are some wonderful thoughts, ma'am. I wanted to ask what were some sayings or proverbs that have inspired you throughout your life, and what would they have meant to your teenage self?
Um, very honestly, I don't think I would like to mention any such proverbs or idioms or quotes or anything. At different points of time, I've always been a very avid reader. So whatever I'm reading at that particular point of time, I get very absorbed in that particular book or that particular essay that I'm reading, and that has an impact on my thoughts. And then maybe if I move on and start reading something else, then again my thought process shifts to that. So I wouldn't say that I can choose any one or two quotes that have consistently inspired me. But you'll be surprised to know that one of my most favorite characters all along has been Winnie the Pooh. And I feel that so many things that Winnie the Pooh says, it has so many layers and so many depths of meaning that they continue to inspire me and they continue to have a great deal of meaning for me. So I feel he's one of the wisest characters, fictional characters. And I always tell my students to, whenever they have some free time, they should read Winnie the Pooh.
It's been great talking to you, ma'am. An absolute delight to hear and learn from what you had to say. Thank you, ma'am, for giving us your precious time. Is there anything you'd like to add on, ma'am?
Well, I just want to thank both of you for giving up your afternoon, and it has been such a pleasure to speak to you. I want to thank both of you. I want to thank your schools for nominating you. You all are such lovely, lovely, delightful students. And if you ever come to Kolkata, please do come and visit our school. Come and visit me.
Thank you so very much, ma'am, for your invitation to Kolkata and for your words of advice. This was Veerajan Janisa interviewing Miss Amita Prasad, Director, Indus Valley World School, Kolkata, for Joanna Studios Cityscapes. Signing off.